We're ready to rock and roll again. All right, business owners, if you're looking to grow and scale your business, there are so many different strategies and so many different people that can help. Today's guest is one of those people. So let's get this one on the road. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone, because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Are you a small business owner or entrepreneur looking to scale your business and increase your personal freedom? Today's guest is a certified value builder advisor, trainer, and speaker who has helped over 700 entrepreneurs pitch to fundraise, turn their companies into highly profitable and sustainable enterprises, and reclaim their personal freedom. As the creator of the Freedom Owner program, he teaches business owners how to make their company scalable, valuable, and investable. His insights and strategies on business growth have been praised by top business leaders in different countries, and he has shared them as a keynote speaker at various conferences and events all over the continents, all over 4 continents, in fact. In this episode, he shares his expertise on how to maximize your business potential and increase your personal freedom. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. Abi Awad. Andre, welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you. Happy to be with you.
Oh, man, you're ready to party, and so are we, dude. Okay, let's talk about this. First of all, let's start from the beginning, because everybody has an origin story. Tell me about your background. How did you become a certified value builder advisor? What is that? And how you doing? How you doing as far as training and speaking goes?
Well, first I started being an entrepreneur, selling websites when I was 16 years old, and then to move fast forward, I was bankrupted twice, starting my own business when I quit my job at the age of 26 and then at the age of 29. And when I mean bankrupt, I'm self-made, so no support, and real bankruptcy is the first time it was a bank loan. And in 2013, I said, enough is enough. I should know how to start a business. I took my time to meet and mingle among successful business owners. In 8 August 2014, I wrote online, I will never be an employee anymore. And since then, I've been full-time business owner, serial entrepreneur. I sold my business last year. And also, I started, usually I work with entrepreneurs in 54 countries, but during the past 7 years almost, I was working with business owners to help them grow the value of their business and make it scalable, valuable, sellable, while claiming back their freedom. What is a certified value builder? Is an advisor who works hand in hand with the business owner to help him or her increase the value of the business, making it scalable, valuable, sellable, and also claim back their freedom.
I mean, I'm not happy that you had to file bankruptcy, but I'm happy to see that you've been at all ends of the spectrums. I don't think people realize when they hear entrepreneur, you get one of 2 stigmas. One is, you're unemployed, or 2, you are super successful beyond recognition, right? And I think a lot of times when people start a business, they don't realize how much of a risk they're actually taking when you don't have that consistent paycheck coming in, when you're dependent 100% on, whatever you hunt, that's what you're going to eat that month or that week. Walk me through that low point in your life real quick, and how has that helped you to help over 700 entrepreneurs, pitch their fundraising, turn their companies into profitable ventures, and sustain enterprise?
Well, to start with the low end, I just want to mention one thing, that the first time I was bankrupt, I was 26, as I mentioned. I took a bank loan before quitting my job, so I was able to afford, the bank guarantee. And I lost all the money in 8 months. I had to repay it in 5 years. And I was self-diagnosed in depression. I say self-diagnosed because I didn't go to a doctor, I didn't take pills, but sleeping all day, being depressed, and wishing if you can die today because you don't want to pay for the bank every month with money that you don't have. That was really a very bad situation, but actually I learned a lot. And the second time I was bankrupt, it was more lessons: how to pick a partner, how to take an effective role in the business, how to strategize and plan before, and so on. How I worked with entrepreneurs on pitching for investment. The first pitch I did, it was in November 2010, and I didn't know I had this talent, because after that it was a regional competition for entrepreneurs. We were from the top 5, and then they selected us to compete among 8 countries, from New York to I remember Hong Kong, passing through London, South Africa, and many countries. So I said, if I know how to do it, I can teach it. And I started training entrepreneurs on how to pitch for investment. Actually, the biggest investment I did the pitch for was August 2021. It was a $4 million pitch, and we took it. That was a great one. And I work with accelerators and incubators to train their entrepreneurs on how to pitch for investment or to go from phase to phase. If you want me to tell you more about pitching, I can. But if you have any other question, I'm ready.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the pitching because I think it's definitely important. And one thing you said was, when you first went bankrupt, when you had that failure, you had that self-diagnosed depression. I think a lot of times people quit right there, right? Like you hit a wall, you were struggling to get things going, but I commend you because you didn't quit. And that, I think, is the ultimate failure. We make mistakes as entrepreneurs. That's kind of what we have to do. Yep. What does it say? What does it say?
I have this bracelet all the time. It's just take action, because nothing will make you go out of your bed or out of bankruptcy or out of any challenge except if you take action. You have to make it.
I got one myself, and mine says no excuses,
Whoa,
because at the end of the
very
day,
good
that's kind of the
one.
same type of thing. That's right. That's right. Shout out to Eric Rides for Hope, because it's his bracelet, and I've been wearing it for quite some time now. But again, it really comes down to you didn't quit, right? And I think I really want to emphasize that, because there's a lot of people who are going to try things, and it's the moment they quit where the real failure happens. You wouldn't have been able to achieve the success that you're at if you hadn't gone through that failure, and that failure was probably one of the greatest educations you've ever had. I know personally, when I first went bankrupt, I was like 24 at the time, my very first business venture, and I probably shouldn't have gone that route, but I didn't know any better. And in failing, that was the greatest lesson I could have ever come. Now you have the Freedom Owners Program. Tell me a little bit about that. You have a background now where you have a history, you've made some mistakes. Now you're helping people achieve their freedom. What's that business venture like? How are you helping people become scalable, valuable, and investable?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I mentioned, in 2013, I said enough is enough. I don't want to be bankrupt the third time. And I started mingling and learning from successful business owners. I started with small business owners, and then I started going into networks and getting introduced to bigger companies, more successful entrepreneurs, from unicorn owners to multinational, multi-million dollar companies. And I always ask them first about their failure stories and what they learned from it. I ask them about their personal habits, and I ask them about many of the business aspects on how they became successful. And I discovered that one of the main traps for business owners who are not able to scale is that they are at the center of their business. They are involved in the day to day operations. And that's why I started with one of my courses or training. It was called Energizing Time for Entrepreneurs, how you can make the time when you are in the business energizing for you. Because most of the time, people who are not able to scale their business are uh, like stuck in operations or tasks they don't like to do. So if you want to scale the business, one, you need to identify what you love to do and do it, and start delegating. Create your dream team, the team who can take the tasks that you don't like to do, so they do it and you do what you like to do. And then at a later stage, you need to be working on the business, not in the business anymore. That's your task from the beginning. But basically, at a certain point, you don't need to do anything related to the day-to-day operations. You just need to be working on the business. So uh, in the value builder, we talk about 8 drivers. Financial performance. You need to make sure you know your numbers. That's one. Have financial coaches or advisors around you, your CFO or anyone you can trust, to know which numbers you need to monitor and to adjust, because each industry is different than the other. The growth potential, you need to identify which products or services are able to scale. And here we talk about the scalability trifecta, which is if the product is valuable, teachable, and repeatable, you can sell it more and more to the same customer. It has growth potential. 3, we talk about the Switzerland structure, which is how independent you are from one employee, from one customer, and from one supplier. 4, we talk about the valuation teeter-totter, because if you want to sustain a business and grow it, you don't want to keep injecting cash from outside the business. It needs to be sustainable. One of my best, my preferred drivers is the hierarchy of recurring revenue, because whenever you have recurring revenue in your business, you have peace of mind. You can sleep at night because you know that at the end of the month, even if you have the churn rate, you have a certain amount of money that is almost guaranteed. But if you don't have recurring revenue, you have to hunt every day for the money. And the 6th, let's say, driver is monopoly control. How differentiated you are from your competitors. Sometimes differentiation is from the marketing messages more than the features or the benefits, because sometimes you're selling a commodity, or you're selling something that is widely spread in the market, but you can identify a niche or identify a marketing message that can differentiate you. The customer satisfaction, people think that if I ask my customers, are you happy with my service or product? They say yes, this means they are satisfied. No. There is the NPS score, Net Promoter Score. You can search for it and know more about the process. It's one question. From 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our product or service to someone else? And justify your answer. And you can go through the process of identifying how it goes. And the driver 8, which is hub and spoke, that I usually start with, is, are you the hub of the business? Because if you talk about airlines, every airline will go to the hub airport and then to the destination. If everything in the business is going through the business owner, this business owner will not be able to scale the business. So these are the 8 drivers that we discuss. And if you just think about them, you will have more insights on how you can identify where you need to improve your operations and your systems.
Yeah, if you're the hub, you're the bottleneck. You're also the one preventing the growth, right? But at the same time, if you're the hub, if you're the solopreneur, you're also the reason why you're experiencing burnout and you're plateaued at whatever level that you're at, because you haven't brought on those team members. You're doing all those things, you're wearing all those hats, and it just takes on so much responsibility that you end up quitting. So when some entrepreneurs come to you when they need help, what are some of the common challenges of all those 8 things? The numbers, the value, teachable, repeatable, recurring revenue, of all those different things. What are the common challenges that small business owners face when scaling their business? How do you help them address those things? Like, what are the most common ones that you see when people enter your program?
Mainly, they are the hub of the business. They are not able to scale it because they are the hub. And what's the issue there? They don't have systems, they don't have processes, they don't have standard operating procedures, SOPs. They don't trust their team well, or they don't have the right team or the right employee to delegate to, or they don't know how to delegate. So some of these challenges are always, most of the time, present in small businesses that are not able to scale. That's why I always start with the energizing time for entrepreneurs, identifying. I can guide you a little bit through the exercise. I say, list your tasks every month. What do you do every month? Then how many hours they take? Then what's your energy score for that task? And when I say energy score, it's if you love to do it, you forget about time when you're doing it, it's 10 over 10. If you hate doing it, you delay it, you postpone it, it's a nightmare for you, it's 1 over 10. And Then the other column, the last column, is what's the action plan? Anything that's below 8 on the energy score, you need to delegate it, automate it, outsource it, or do less of. Everything that is above 8, you can keep doing it at the first stage, but later on, as we said, you have to move into working on the business. So most of the time, uh, we identify who to hire based on these tasks that are less than 8 on the energy score. We identify what to outsource, what to automate, or what to create standard operating procedures or processes or systems for that are not most of the time present in a company that is not able to scale.
Yeah, they're present. They're just all right here in the owner's head, right? They have to get down on paper so that you can make them repeatable. That's the key right there, so that you can start delegating some of this stuff. So when you've been across multiple countries, you've helped people in different cultural backgrounds, and I'd imagine that some of the business stuff that you come across is very fundamental and across country lines. Maybe some are not. What are some of those business strategies that maybe have helped businesses grow that you've been praised on by business leaders in different countries? Things that tend to stand out.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that are not really business owners are not so aware of, and I've heard this sentence many times: we know how to start the business, but we don't know how to exit the business. So people know how to start the business, but they don't think about the exit plan. Should I exit? Should I stay? When should I exit? When should I leave? And so on. So that's number one. And number two is most of them, they don't have an unfair advantage. And most of the people confuse between unfair advantage and competitive advantage. And here I want to differentiate between these two. Competitive advantage is what your customers are looking for in order to buy from you instead of your competitors. Unfair advantage, it's what do you have that makes it harder for your competitors to copy you or to move at your speed. And sometimes it doesn't have to be seen by your customers. It can be a patent, it can be an exclusive partnership, it can be some sort of raw material or code or talent that you have that they don't have access to. That's your unfair advantage. And when I work with entrepreneurs on how to get investment, that's a point that we really think of, unfair advantage. And I say it's not easy to get. Some companies, when they grow, the unfair advantage becomes their brand equity, for example. So if I'm not gonna advertise any brand now, but if you think about the top 100 brands or 10 brands anywhere, if a coffee shop with a big brand, it just comes to your mind the name. If they launch something that is not related to coffee shops, they can launch a technology item, for example, a tech item, they will sell it. Why? Because they have brand equity, they have this community, and so on. But when you are a small business, when you are an entrepreneur, you don't have this unfair advantage of brand equity. So you need to manufacture or work on this unfair advantage. And that's mostly an aha moment whenever I'm working with entrepreneurs all over the continents.
And I'm going to take this time to do a little cheap plug here. This is why, for me, podcasting and creating content on social media is so valuable. It has that long tail effect of building a brand, building a community of people who recognize for who you are. So when you launch products, just like you said, there's some sort of credibility behind it. People trust you. People have faith in you. People are willing to go maybe be early adopters into what you're doing because of that work you've put in over and over again, which is why I'd imagine you're coming on different podcasts to do exactly that, to enhance your brand and get your message out there. Now, you work with a lot of different types of companies. It could be like, you mentioned tech companies, could be retail, brick and mortar type places. How do you tailor your approach to meet like the unique needs and goals of entrepreneurs that are in multiple verticals or in multiple industries?
Mm-hmm. Well, to tell you, these 8 drivers that I've mentioned earlier, from the financial performance, growth potential, hub and spoke, and so on, they are common to every industry. So every industry need to take into consideration these 8 drivers. What happens tactically is of course tailored to the industry, to the size of the company, to the vision and to the goals of the business owner. And how do I tailor? When I'm working one-on-one with these people, we discuss first on the first session, what's the vision for the business? Where do you see it? Some people, they don't want to exit the business. They just want to be, for example, the chairperson, or they want to give it to the second generation, or they just want to turn it off, for example, when they don't want to work on it. That's very rare. But based on the vision of the business owner, we continue with the other drivers, and based on the industry. For example, just to give an example, when I talk about profit margin or gross margin, these are very different whenever you're working with products or you're working with services. The margins are way different. When we talk about also the unfair advantage or the monopoly control, very different. For example, when we talk about the scalability, and we plot the products on or the services on two axes, how valuable it is and how teachable it is. Sometimes you can bundle services into one program. Sometimes you can wrap a product with a service, for example. So this is for services, this is for products. It's a different strategy, but we are still in the same system. Which one is more teachable, more valuable, and repeatable? So you tailor it, of course, for different industries and for different business owners with their vision, but the drivers are the same.
So let me ask you about tailoring to meet like people's personal financial or personal freedom, essentially, because sometimes it's not always financial, sometimes it's time that people are looking for. So when you're talking about the different metrics for a business, you even talked about different exiting, or whether you just want to turn off the business, which I don't know if you'd want to actually do that, but I guess some people would. What do you, when you're going through that initial discussion, how do you help people kind of rationalize between these are the things that you have to do in your business, but these are the things that this is how you should be doing it so that you achieve your personal goals? Like that work-life balance, I don't think ever really exists, but designing a life that you like, whether it's mostly work or mostly personal, you get to decide that. How much of that goes into the planning for the business owners that come work with you?
Well, first, there's something that I see also common among all cultures. Not all cultures, because you can understand why. It's the financial performance. And most of, let's say, Latin America, Middle East, some of East Asia, most of Africa, they confuse or they merge between their personal finance and their business finance. So if the business is generating revenue, the revenue is for the business owner and the business. So there's no split between these two. And most of the time, you don't see the business owner having a salary. They don't set a salary for themselves. So they are taking from the business no matter what they want. And when we start with the financial performance, as I mentioned, it's the first driver we take into consideration. We start working on a plan, because most of the time it doesn't happen directly, on a plan when the business owner can start having a salary and split between their personal finance and their business finance. So that's number one for splitting. Number two, when we start delegating and creating systems and making sure that the business owner is not involved in the day-to-day operations, we start working on, it's not working actually, considering the life and work balance. I can say, and it doesn't exist. You will never reach balance between both professional and personal life, but you tend to, like, by having me time, I call it. The me time can be anything. Some people, their me time, they want it to be with their children. Some of them, they have hobbies. Some of them, they just want to be in nature. This me time, which is totally disconnected from the business, is very, very important, and it will give you also the energy to come back to the business. And you will be surprised, many business owners, they forget their hobbies. I remember this call at 7 a.m. one day. A business owner, a lady, she was in burnout. She called me and she was saying like, I've been 3 days working on something. I didn't do any progress. The negative self-talk. And I said, can you please stop today and go do anything from your hobbies? 1 minute silence. And then she said, I don't have a hobby.
Work is my hobby.
Exactly. I don't have a hobby. And that's one of the reasons business owners go into burnout. So please don't forget your me time. Create something. Remember your childhood, your hobbies, and split. You need to be with your family. You need to be with your children. You need to be with yourself. Even if it's 1 hour a week, start by 1 hour a week. Later on, you will create the balance. Also, the financial split between business and personal will also help.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about it. When you got into business, you didn't get into business to work your butt off all the time. You got into it because of the freedom that you were going to get in the first place. That's the whole point that you got into it. And then you fell into this trap. All right, let me ask you one last question about business. There's always short-term goals and long-term goals. And obviously we want our business to be here long-term. How do you balance the need for short-term gains with a long-term sustainability plan to add value to a business?
Mm-hmm. You need the short term. That's very important. That's why also whenever we start my one-on-one advisory sessions with business owners, we always have goals for the months and we check them at the beginning of the session. We have action plans. It can be daily, weekly, and we also check their progress on that. And we have the yearly goals and the strategic goals for more than a year. So they are always taken into consideration at the beginning of our session to keep in mind our monthly goals, our daily, weekly action plans. So, and I went 2 months ago, I guess, more than 2 months, January, one business owner contacted me and he said, Andre, we need to work together. I have to exit my business. I want to sell it. I said, did you create or think about a timeline or deadline for that? He said, I want to do it this year. I said, okay, we need to sit. It doesn't happen in a
You
year.
got a
And when
lot
we
of work ahead of you.
exactly, and when we started with the assessment, because I do an assessment every time, and we went through what needs to be working on. I said, do you want to sell your business for $5 million or $20 million? It's the same business. If you just wait like 2 years, it can be $20 million. If you want to sell it this year, it can be $5 million. So that's why when you know that with time you can create more value in the business, and you gain, if you want to exit it, you will gain more financial also freedom, because that's your number where it will sustain you on a personal level if you don't want to start a business directly. You need to work on short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. So that's where we take these into consideration every time, every session.
That's it. That's really what it comes down to. You can't get long distances without taking short steps. That's just the way it works. One step at a time will get you there. And again, this is one of those things, like when you have a client come to you, like, I need to get out now in a year, you're coming at the end, right? You need to have somebody, coaching mentors, people who have already done what it is that you want to achieve earlier in the game, so that you're creating a business where it has the ability to exit. Because if you're coming into this looking for an exit and you've been doing all the work yourself the whole time, you got a long way to go to be able to exit that business. Nobody wants to buy a job these days. You can go just get one. Why would I want to take one on and work 80 hours a week? It's not really my gig. Andre, you've been shared a lot of information with us. If people want to reach out, they want to work with you, where can they go? What can they expect?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn and every other social network, the most essential: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Andre Abi Awad, and also my website, The Freedom Owner. It will take you into my newsletter, and also my email is andre@thefreedomowner.com. Let's connect.
Perfect, man. Perfect. All right. Well, Andre, thank you very much. Again, you've shared a lot of great information, and you're getting your name out there. You're going out there, you're putting your information out, sharing with people. You've already helped over 700 entrepreneurs. I don't know how many shows you've already been on, but my last selfish question is, what was your experience like today on the Business Bros?
I love the energy. Huh? I love the energy, and I'm glad. I'm with you. I've listened to your podcast, and I said, well, if I want to put my name out there, I should be on your podcast. And thank you for hosting me. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope your listeners got the value out of it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you got to build your brand. You got to put content out there. You can't be invisible. I always used to tell insurance agents, and I learned it from one of my mentors in real estate. Secret agents have skinny kids. You can't be a secret about what you do. You might have the greatest skill in the world, but if nobody knows what you're doing, your business is going to suffer. And just like Andre is saying right here, you can get the fundamentals down, but you got to get your message out there. You got to put your message out in front of people as many times as possible. Podcasting can help you do that. If not, we can help you with social media content creation. That's what we're here for. One more time, if you want to work with Andre, his website scrolling across the bottom, the freedomowner.com. You can find him on his social media as well, Andre Abi Awad, or his email, andre@thefreedomowner.com. Thank you very much, Andre, for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.